Building and installing O'Neill stoves by Hope's International. The O'Neill griddle stove by Hope's International was engineered as an alternative to cooking over an open 3-stone fire, which is the traditional practice throughout rural Guatemala. The O'Neill stove eliminates indoor smoke, creates a safer and more convenient cooking method, and reduces firewood consumption by 50 to 70%. To avoid creating a fire hazard to the house, neither the O'Neill stove nor any other type of stove with a chimney can be recommended for installation in homes with roofs of straw, thatch, or other flammable material. The O'Neill stoves by Hope's International include several features that make them more efficient, safe, and convenient to use. These stoves' bodies are manufactured from concrete using fiberglass molds. This molding technique ensures rapid, low-cost production. The O'Neill stove uses 2 main principles which ensure that the stoves heat quickly and use firewood efficiently. Complete combustion. In order to obtain the maximum energy from the firewood, the wood must be completely burned. Containing the fire within an insulated combustion chamber enables it to burn at temperatures high enough to consume much of the oil vapor otherwise expelled as smoke. Smoke is wasted fuel as well as an air pollutant and hazard. Efficient transfer of heat to the pot. Once the fuel wood has been efficiently converted into heated gases, the heat from these gases should be efficiently transferred to the cooking pot. The energy that heats the actual body of the stove or that escapes through the chimney is energy that is not available for cooking. Ash and pumice stone are used as insulation around the combustion chamber to minimize the amount of heat entering the stove body. This directs the hot gases up against the griddle, where it transfers the majority of the energy to the cooking pot. Just enough heat enters the chimney to create the draft needed for combustion. Due to near complete combustion and the efficient heat transfer, firewood consumption has been reduced by 50 to 70%. Placement and construction of the stove base structure. The stove must be located at least 16 inches away from adjacent walls of flammable material. The location must also take into account that the chimney should not be placed through overlapping roofing material. The surface under the stove must be clean and level to provide a stable base. The stove structure is built using 11 cinder blocks. Each block must be either 20 by 20 by 40 centimeters or 15 by 20 by 40 centimeters. The first 5 cinder blocks are placed in a U shape. Ensure that the blocks are level before placing the next 5 cinder blocks as an inverted U shape over the first 5. The last cinder block is placed to support the back end of the stove. Once the base structure is in place, the concrete stove body is assembled on top. Construction and assembly of the combustion chamber. The combustion chamber is assembled from 6 custom pieces of baldosa tile. The pieces are put together and installed to create a combustion chamber that remains in place by filling the surrounding space with insulation. When the combustion chamber is correctly in place, it provides adequate access for the firewood and directs the hot gases towards the griddle. Both the entrance and the exit from the combustion chamber measure 11.5 by 11.5 centimeters. To ensure the fire's adequate supply of oxygen, The metal shelf must be placed at the firewood entry of the combustion chamber. The metal shelf is supplied with the stove assembly and is a permanent part of the stove. 2 5 by 25 centimeter pieces of baldosa tile are installed to help keep the insulation in place and to create a funnel towards the rear side of the stove. Insulating the stove. Once the combustion chamber is installed, the gas collection channel is installed at the rear of the stove. The gas collection channel also comes with the stove assembly. Once these pieces are installed, the remaining space should be filled with coarsely ground pumice stone and ashes. The pumice stone is placed around the combustion chamber and ramps up from the rear of the combustion chamber towards the upper edge of the gas collection channel. Finally, ashes are placed over the pumice stone to create a smooth surface. The insulation material should level off even with the edge of the structure that holds the griddle in place. This leveling ensures that the hot gases avoid contact with the concrete and makes an effective seal against the smoke escaping around the edges of the griddle. Installing the griddle. The griddle is divided into 2 parts to reduce the likelihood of warping. The 2 parts are similar, except that the part that should be toward the front of the stove has a metal support welded on the back that fits and supports the second half of the griddle. The angle iron on the bottom of the griddle should be covered by the ashes to avoid the hot gases coming into contact with the concrete, thereby creating a seal against smoke escaping around the griddle. The griddle has been manufactured to ensure a 3 millimeter gap all around the edges that enables the metal to expand when heated. Installing the chimney. The chimney is made up of section tubes and joints of galvanized sheeting 10 centimeters in diameter. The chimney is installed in 2 parts. The first portion is permanently attached to the roof in order to be able to clean it from below without removing that part. The second portion is attached to the stove with a right angle elbow and attaches to the second portion on the inside of the dwelling. The second portion must also be periodically disassembled for cleaning. In order to determine the point on the roof where the first portion should be installed, the elbow should be first placed on the stove to determine the correct distance at which the chimney will exit. Then pencil a circle of the correct diameter on the roofing material and use a drill with a 4-inch hole saw to penetrate the roofing. If a drill is not available, the roofing material can be cut with a machete and hammered to fit the chimney. The tubing should be positioned vertically to allow the correct fit to the inside chimney section and the elbow. The tube should be secured using metal brackets placed at right angles to the roof with 1/8-inch aluminum clips. The chimney tube should also be secured on 2 points on the underside of the roof. The lower part of this section should be secured to a beam using a steel bracket that also comes with the stove assembly. To avoid accidental burns against the chimney, a metal mesh barrier should surround the tube. The 1/2-inch wire should be 18 inches long by the width of the standard roll and should be wrapped around the height of the chimney with a diameter a little larger than that of the tube. It should be secured with wires at 3 points along the edge. A 4.5-inch by 4.5-inch cut should be made at one end to fit around the elbow. Lastly, fold the edges toward the inside to ensure that the metal mesh does not come in contact with the chimney. The protective mesh is installed around the removable portion of the chimney like a sleeve, and then the chimney put in place. The section of chimney protruding from the roof is covered with a rain cap. All of the gaps surround the chimney through the roofing material should be sealed with a sealant that resists high temperatures. That is RTV silicone for high temperatures. To install the removable section of the chimney, first install the elbow in the stove structure. Then measure the distance between the elbow and the tubing suspended from the roof that protrudes into the dwelling. If necessary, cut the remaining section to that measurement to ensure a tight fit. This section should not be screwed or nailed in place because it has to be regularly disassembled for cleaning. Before using the stove for the first time, carefully inspect and review the installation to ensure that all parts are correctly and securely assembled. If correctly installed and adequately maintained, the O'Neill griddle stove will provide many years of safe, healthy, and energy-efficient service for the entire family.